hindi box ang dinala.
Hindi ginamit.
Dinamit.
Option po ni client yun na hindi na nilagay sa box. So, for security reason, I think, Ms. Chair,
Apa.
kasi masyadong yung box, kitang-kita po na it's ano po siya, storage box ng money from BSP.
Kasi meron pong nakasulat sa box na galing po siya sa BSP. Tama po ba?
Yes, Ms. Chair.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair.
With the indulgence of Congressman
Yeah, with the
Rhodes.
indulgence of
Mr.
the Honorable Gutierrez.
Congressman,
Mr. Chair, can
yes.
may we
Ma'am,
be
Miss Campos na, no?
recognize? Oo. Regarding the CCTV, the bank has a retention period of 90 days for the CCTV footages, so we cannot provide anymore.
noted.
Mr. Chairman, since
Yes,
this
Congressman Paduano.
representation moved for that for the submission of such CCTV, yung teller po, pina-invite na natin.
Yes.
Yung duty guard on that day.
Including the
Yeah, we may also invite the duty guard on that day, Mr. Chairman.
with the logbook.
Yeah, so move, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Second, Mr. Chair.
Congressman Acop.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Clarification lang po. Sino po ang finance ng OVP?
Yes.
Attorney Sanchez.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ako po, Mr. Chair.
Yes, ma'am. You were aware na 125 million yung confidential fund ng opisina ni Vice President for 2022.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
And would you know, kailan po ko yung na-notify na na-download na yung amount na yun doon sa Office of the Vice President?
It's December 13, Mr. Chair, if I recall it correctly.
December 13 of 2022.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
May I know why?
Mr. Chair, the Office of the Vice President requested for additional funding from the DBM, not only for the provision of confidential funds, but also for a supplemental budget for our socio-economic programs.
No. So the Vice President requested for confidential fund. Kailan po yun?
Sometime in August, Mr. Chair.
Tapos nagrantan lang ng December.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
December 13. Okay. Now, may I ask Land Bank, when was the amount withdrawn?
For the OBP, I think for the 2022, December 20, I think we'll check the document.
December
20, 2022
2022.
for the first.
One time na withdrawal.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
One time. Ang nag-withdraw, yung pong SDO, Special Dispersing Officer.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Madam, would you know si Attorney Sanchez? Would that be correct?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes, ma'am. Bakit ginastos nyo kagad ito nung period na yon, when in fact you would have obligated it and you would have used it in 2023?
Mr. Chair, I do not have knowledge on the actual utilization, but in terms of the cash advance, Mr. Chair, there is no prohibition as to whether we can give the cash advance in 2022, Your Honor.
Kayo po ang mas marunong siguro sa SDO, ba't hindi nyo na lang sinabihan when the notice of cash allocation na receive nyo ng December 13, bakit hindi nyo na lang inobligate so that it will not be returned to the National Treasury? Kung na-obligate ninyo, you can use it in 2023. Di po ba, kung titignan nyo yung budget, merong unused appropriations. Number one is unobligated appropriations. At saka number two is yung hindi na issue sa inyo. Bakit inapuran ninyo?
Mr. Chair, for the obligation of cash of the confidential expenses, it is triggered by the issuance of the cash advance, Mr. Chair, and the documents for the request for the release of the cash advance was received by by the accounting division and the budget division on December 20, Mr. Chair.
Kaya nga, na-receive niya ngayon, December 13, tapos pinaspasan nyo ng pag-liquidate. Di po ba? And therefore, nagkamali-mali na yung inyong opisina na pag-liquidate.
Mr. Chair, as to the issuance of the cash advance, as of the time that the cash advance was issued, we did not have information on the period that it will be used because it can be used even after December 31, Mr. Chair.
Kaya ngayon nga yung katanungan ngayon December 13, nakuha nyo yung na meron ng cash for the confidential fund. The first thing that you would have done is that hindi natin magagamit itong 125 billion within 11 days. Tama?
Mr. Chair, there is no requirement under the joint circular to use it within the 11-day period because it's for one quarter.
Ginamit nyo nga sa liquidation ninyo. You use it for 11 days. That's why your office committed mistakes in the liquidation. Kasi inapuran nyo When in fact, pwede naman yung i-obligate yun at saka nyo na lang i-liquidate. Di po ba?
Again, Mr. Chair, I would like to state for the record that I do not have knowledge on the actual utilization and disbursement from the confidential fund cash advance.
I'm amazed kasi kayo in charge ng finance sa office ng OBP, you do not know this. It's surprising on my part kasi I've worked with the controllership. Kaya nga ako nagtataka Bakit pinilit ninyo na i-liquidate o gamitin yung pondo 125 million in 11 days? Something must be wrong somewhere. Di po ba? Sabihin nyo sa akin, normal ba yun? Na 125 million gamitin mo in 11 days? As a finance officer.
Mr. Chair, for the 125 million, I do not have personal knowledge, but
Hindi. Ang tanong ko po, isagutin ninyo. Sa tingin po ninyo, being with finance, normal ba na gamitin yung 125 million in 11 days?
Mr. Chair, that would
Yes or no?
depend, Mr. Chair, on the nature of the transactions, Mr. Chair.
Are you
So-
trying to tell me that you could come up with transactions within 11 days, 5 of which are holidays?
Mr. Chair,
Pakisagot lang po.
Mr. Chair, in the government, there are transactions which exceed that amount, and the payment is
Like what, for
can be,
example?
Purchases, Mr. Chair, but there may be purchases, Mr. Chair, that exceed that amount, or payment for other transactions, Mr. Chair, like
In the office of the OVP, anong transaction na ganun?
in the OVP, Your Honor, wala po kaming ganun transaction.
Kaya huwag mo akong pagsabihan ng ganun, Iha. Kasi, you're coming up with stories or events na wala kang ebidensya. You're a lawyer, right?
Yes,
And
Mr.
you
Chair.
say something, hihingan kita ng ebidensya. Wala kang may pakita sa akin
Yes, Mr. Chair. That's why early on I stated for the record,
Hindi,
Mr. Chair.
pero for a finance officer, you do not know na it is unusual for you to use 125 million in 11 days, 5 of which are holidays. Ako, naging controller ako, alam ko na imposible. Kaya ang ginagawa ng amin ay ino-obligate namin. para magamit namin sa next year. At may liquidate namin ng tama. Hindi yung ginawa po ninyo. Diba? Attorney, if you're really well-versed sa finance, dapat alam mo yun.
Mr. Chair, again, for the confidential expenses and the handling of the confidential fund, cash advance for confidential fund, hindi po ako involved sa process, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Thank you. For the confidential fund of DepEd, Land Bank, ito ba yung 3/4 of 37.5 million each? One time din ba na winidraw ito?
3 withdrawals, 37.5.
So, ano yun? Every quarter?
I will check our records, sir. I cannot remember anymore.
So, pwedeng sinasabi ninyo, in 1 month, na-withdraw lahat to.
We will check our records, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Hindi rin masagot eh.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Congressman Acop. Yes, Congressman Flores.
Mr. Chair, I would just like to make a follow-up on my suggestion kanina regarding Attorney Sanchez. Do we have that data already as to where? I'm actually just concerned about the SDOs, si Fajarda and Acosta. Actually, si Attorney Ortonio doesn't need to be here. Attorney Lopez is already here, being the boss, di ba? I'm sure she could answer the questions that would be asked of Ortonio. But I just need to know where Fajarda and Acosta are, if they are on official travel.
Mr. Chair, I checked with the Central Records Unit of the Office of the Vice President. They are on official travel,
Where? What city po? What town?
but the travel order only indicated various areas. Mr.
Various.
Chair.
Nandali lang. Sorry, natawa ako dun. Various areas of what po? The Philippines, this planet, or the universe? Parang labo naman ng... You don't know where these persons are?
I have no personal knowledge, Your Honor.
At Attorney Lopez, you're the chief of staff. Wala ba tayong idea man lang, Luzon, Visayas, or Mindanao ba ang activity? Or kasi most of the questions that have been asked, to be fair, could have been answered by these two persons. They're really the ones that are needed here to answer the questions of the members of this committee. So, ang tanong ko lang po, if they are really on official travel, saan po?
Respectfully, Mr. Chair, Your Honor, if I may read the travel order in toto. All right. Just a moment. Travel Order 2024-1037. In the interest of public service, Edward D. Fajarda is hereby authorized to travel on official business to continue the monitoring and facilitation of the preparations and rollout of the OVP anniversary activities in various areas on November 18 to 22, 2024. And then the second would be while outside of his official station, he is authorized to collect allowance for daily travel expenses, incur actual travel expenses in accordance with Executive Order number 77, chargeable against OVP funds, subject to existing budgeting.
So, parang
accounting.
general po yung travel order nila, travel authority nila. But who would be the person in the OVP who could at least give an idea as to where or what part of the Philippines they are in now?
Your Honor, as mentioned early on, we do have a rollout of
Kaya nga, but I'm sure,
But the
meron naman tong
exact-
assignments. Ikaw, doon ka. Ikaw, dito ka. Di, posible naman na all over lang sila, di ba? Sino po ang may alam niyan? Kasi, again, I'm gonna repeat why I want them here. Because most of the questions are actually directed to them, di ba?
We understand, Your
Eh,
Honor.
pangit naman, kayo tinatanong, ipapasa nyo lang din na dapat sila. It could have been, properly done kung nandito din sila. And we've been treating you fairly naman, di ba? None of you have been
We
cited in
understand.
contempt. You're all here. You're all eating your own food nga, di ba? I noticed. I think it's better than our food. Di ba? So,
I do understand, Your Honor, but as mentioned earlier, number one, I have not really gone through that.
again, I'm just asking for who among the officers of the OVP would have an idea as to their exact whereabouts? None? Kasi if you're a government officer, di ba? You're assigned to travel. Aren't you supposed to show that this is my certificate of appearance, I went to this particular office to justify your travel? Tama po ba? Di ba? So saan ngayon ang pinupuntahan nila? Is it any of the offices, satellite offices of the OVP? No one will answer?
On my end, Your Honor, I really have no personal knowledge. Kasi ang nabasa ko rin po is various areas.
Who gave the travel authority?
May I see again? Just a moment, please.
Sige.
The travel authority was signed by the Assistant Chief of Staff, Your Honor, Mr. Ortonio.
Pinapa-excuse ko na sana. Diba? So, he's your assistant, right? Can you not call him up and say, where are these persons ba? I'm just interested with Acosta and Fajarda.
I will try to reach out to him, Your Honor.
Oh, so you cannot contact your assistant, Chief of Staff?
Oh, because when I arrived, as mentioned earlier, yes, I arrived only and reported to the office yesterday. I have not seen him, actually.
Yeah, but I'm sure there are means of communication. You know, he being your assistant, in this day and age, I'm sure someone could get in touch with anyone. Would you not agree, Attorney Lopez?
I will try to reach
Okay,
out.
I'll give you a few minutes, huh? Thank you.
No worries, Your Honor.
Yeah, just a quick manifestation, Mr. Chair. Ms. Zulay, Attorney Lopez, how long have you been in government?
Your Honor, I was a recipient of a loyalty award, so for 10 years. So I suppose more than 10 years.
So previous to your position now, you worked as city administrator of Davao City, correct?
That is correct, Your Honor.
So as city administrator, I'm sure travel authorities would come and go your desk.
For certain officials only, Your Honor.
Yes. So but they would come your desk. Ikaw ang pumipirma, ikaw ang signatory, ikaw may authority.
That is,
And you would know that open-ended travel orders are generally prohibited. You cannot issue a travel order that doesn't specify to where you're going, up to when will you be there, and the other details and purpose of your travel. Is that correct?
Your Honor, Mr. Chair, the preparation of, when I was a city administrator, the preparation of documents as regard travel authorities is actually handled by the Human Resource Division.
Yes, I'm not asking Attorney Lopez who prepares them.
Yes.
As an attorney and as a city administrator, you know that it is prohibited, generally prohibited, to issue travel orders that are open-ended, meaning no specific place, purpose, and time.
Your Honor, I would think that in this case, it can be justified because there is a schedule of activities happening on these dates. So at the very least, I would think that it limits
So if you think it's justified,
the areas.
yes, yeah.
In this particular case, Your Honor.
Yes, so if you think it's justified in this particular case, let's take this particular case as an example. So what particular places are you speaking of?
That is the matter, Your Honor, that was discussed earlier. I would have to ask and check
So therefore,
which areas.
you cannot use this example as a particular case because you yourself have no specific information as to what these various places are. Am I correct, Attorney Lopez?
Your Honor, Mr. Chair, there is a list of activities happening across our satellite offices that can be indication of which areas there will be traveling to.
So meaning, is this a regular practice in the Office of the Vice President where you issue travel orders recklessly with no specific day, with no specific place, with no specific purpose. Basta ang sinusulat nyo lang yon, various. Paano ngayon to, Attorney Lopez? Paano ngayon to, si Mrs. Villa del Rey? Nandiyan ba siya?
She probably went on restroom break, Your Honor.
Okay, tatanong ko na lang si si Attorney Sanchez. Kung ganito yung practice sa OVP, paano nyo charge ng per dime? Tapos paano kayo nag-i-issue ng travel voucher? Paano kayo nag-i-issue ng pambayad ng ticket, pambili ng gasolina, pambayad sa kain, sa eroplano? Kung ito, sinasabi nyo, various places. Various places can mean here, there, everywhere. From the North Pole to the South Pole. So, I mean, you can't expect the committee to believe that one reason to why your officials are not present is because they're attending to activities in various places. That's totally unacceptable. Is this a practice in your office, Attorney Sanchez?
Mr. Chair, usually before we issue a travel order, there are attachments to it. The first one would be the request for travel
I'm not asking that,
authority.
Attorney Sanchez. I know the process because I used to work as a chief executive in a local government unit. I know how it works. So don't tell me the process. What I'm asking you, ito ba ay practice sa Office of the Vice President na recklessly nag-i-issue kayo ng travel authority?
No, Mr. Chair.
Ba't nyo ginagawa? Kung hindi naman pala. So, ba't nyo ginagawa?
Mr. Chair,
So therefore, kung
not
hindi nyo
issue.
pala talagang ginagawa, ngayon nyo lang ginawa. Kung kailan may hearing tayo sa good government, na parang lumalabas, sadyang iniiwasan nyo na dumalo yung mga opisyalis ninyo dito sa aming pangdinig. Kasi talagang isasabay nyo pa eh. Kung kailan may hearing, sinasadya nyo na wala dito. At yung at yung pumirma pa doon sa travel authority na yon is the same person who promised that he should be here. Mr. Chair, this is beyond disrespect to the committee.
Mr. Chairman.
I mean, at the very least, are you trying to hide the truth? Is it so difficult already for people to say the truth? Nowadays, na you have to come up with all sorts of lies. But I'm telling you, you're gonna run out of excuses eventually. You're gonna run out of reasons eventually. And eventually, we're gonna get to you. So
Chairman.
with that being said, Mr. Chair, maraming salamat.
Thank you. With the indulgence
Chairman.
of Congressman Rog Gutierrez, the chair would like to recognize Congressman Paduano.
Thank you, Kong Rods and the chair. Now, ma'am, alam mo, looking back, no, balikan ko lang yung excuse letter nung nakaraan. For example, in the case of Gina Acosta, may travel authority siya. Di ba, that time? And her travel was, during the time was, I think, in Bacolod City, sa satellite office. Malinaw po doon sa travel authority niya. Sinabit niyo po rito. Nakaspecify po yung date at saka place. Andito ngayon si Doc Chris Turuhon, in charge of the satellite office in Western Visayas. And during that hearing, I think, if my memory serves me right, that was the second invitation. And that was the excuse of Gina Acosta with the official travel order doon po sa Bacolod City, satellite office. Now, today, ang problema nyo kasi, ma'am, Attorney Sanchez, alam mo ba, ang problema nyo kasi ngayon, nilalabas nyo na walang specific area. Ma'am, talagang tinatago nyo. Alam mo bakit? Kasi supposedly, after the travel, if she goes back to your office, may certificate of appearance. And that certificate of appearance dapat coincide or inconsistent with the travel authority. For example, nakastipulate doon Bacolod City or Region 6 Satellite Office. Eh, yung certificate of appearance siya sa ibang satellite office. Will you honor it? Ma'am? Attorney? Will you honor it?
No, Mr. Chair.
Oh, no. That's why, huwag niyong gamiting palusot dito na walang specific time, date, and place. Ma'am, lastly, I just want to warn you. Don't you know, by telling in this committee, you're violating Section 11 of our rules. Letter F po, undue interference. That's our internal rules. You're violating Section 11 of letter F, paragraph F of our rules. Undue interference during scheduled hearing by the committee. I just want to inform you, ma'am. And if you want to check it, you can check it in our website. Nandyan po yun, attorney. You're a lawyer, you know that.
Yes. Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Chairman.
Yes, Attorney
Mr. Chair, may I
Sanchez.
be allowed to respond, Mr.
Yes,
Chair?
please.
Mr. Chair, earlier I was asked to check for records for the travel orders. So that's what I did, Mr. Chair. I just checked, and from the report of our Central Records Unit, they provided me with copies of the travel orders, Mr. Chair. So for the period of November 10 to 15, Mr. Chair, that is what was mentioned by Honorable Congressman Paduano, that Ms. Gina Acosta traveled to a satellite office, and the place is specific. But Mr. Chair, another travel order was issued for the period of November 18 to 22, Mr. Chair. And I'm just basing it, my statement.
And who signed that
on the record.
travel order?
As mentioned earlier, Mr. Chair, it was Assistant Chief of Staff, Lemuel Ortonio.
And he's not present also.
Yes, that is
Eh,
correct.
para-pareho sila.
Who signed the travel order of Ocdonio?
For the travel, wait, Mr. Chair. For the travel, order number 2024-983, and that covers the period of November 11 to 15. The signatory of the travel order is the Vice President, Your Honor, in accordance with our
Yung
office
ngayon,
order.
sino yung nag-sign ng travel authority? Ito ngayon.
Mr. Chair, for the travel of Ms. Acosta, Attorney Fajarda and Mr. Fajarda, the signatory is Mr. Ortonio. In
Mr.
accordance
Ortonio.
with our...
And he's
Office
also
order.
absent
that
today.
is- Yes, Mr. Chair.
Eh, paano siya sasagot? But, ma'am, last question na lang po, attorney. Regular ba yon? Yung ngayon? Regular ba o irregular? Yung travel authority na yan? In your own experience and based on the practices, supposedly the practices in your office, is it regular or irregular? Without dates, without the specific place?
Mr. Chair, it's not common, Mr. Chair. This is the first time
So that's irregular.
that is not usual, Mr. Chair.
Anyway, Mr. Chairman, ako, attorney, I have just cited our internal rules, no? I hope you will answer truthfully so that this committee will not be forced to cite you in contempt. Ganun lang po. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Chair. But as
Mr.
mentioned,
Chair?
my responses were based on documents.
Ma'am, as I've told you, you're a lawyer. Alam mo po. Salamat po, Chairman.
Thank you, but
Mr.
at
Chair,
this point,
can we request Kong Paduano to extend this request? Mr. Chair, can we request Kong Paduano, since he's already posting questions and looking for Ma'am Acosta, maybe they can call her over the phone kasi on official travel naman siya, so she's still active and performing her duties.
pwede po ba
The finance
pakitawagan na
officer,
lang po
Attorney
ninyo
Sanchez
si
and Attorney Lopez.
Ma'am Acosta?
I will try, Mr. Chair.
Okay. The chair would like to recognize Congressman Rog Gutierrez. Rog.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, just a few questions lang po to continue. I think the committee has already expressed its interest by asking already in Land Bank na pagtaka po talaga yung issue po of the money trail. I think we have established that the cash withdrawn from the Land Bank representing the confidential funds are taken out by the SDO in cash. Hindi pa napadeposit sa Land Bank. And it is in the personal cost of the SDO, which is in line with the joint circular. However, this is 125 million in cash, and in the case of DepEd, 37.5 million per quarter in cold hard cash. But what is not sure yet is where Ms. Acosta and Mr. Fajardo have brought the cash. I think we've established the line so far with the tellers. We're still going to have to establish that, at least from the Land Bank up until the deposit. From the release of the check up to the encashment in Land Bank. We've seen that so far, but we still have yet to establish where the cash goes after that. And we have some further questions po in relation to this. Kasi po, ang nakikita po natin, based on the testimonies, even from the last hearing, in the question of confidential funds, it all points to two people po. In the case of DepEd, at least, it's pointing to the SDO and the head of agency, in which case that would be Mr. Fajardo and then Secretary Duterte. And of course, for the OVP, although interestingly, based on our last hearing, it actually was pointed to three people. If we recall the testimony of Attorney Sanchez, she actually mentioned that, based from her knowledge, the persons who would have knowledge of this confidential funds would be the SDO, si Ms. Acosta, the head of agency, which is VP Duterte, and the Chief of Staff, Ms. Zuleika Lopez. So in line with this, just to clarify, I'd like to ask a few questions po, no, kay Attorney Lopez, to the Honorable Chairman. Attorney Lopez, nabanggit po yung pangalan po ninyo last hearing. Just to refresh your memory, I'm sure at the time you were busy po with your personal concerns. We were asking si Attorney Sanchez po and si Ms. Ville del Rey about the processes within the OVP and the disbursement of the confidential funds. And it was mentioned, I believe, specifically by Attorney Sanchez, what we've established, at least with Ms. Ville del Rey, is that wala po silang kinalaman sa disbursement ng confidential funds. Ang alam lang po ng chief accountant is the requirements and that they would have to submit for the release of the check. And kasama rin po dito si Attorney Sanchez. However, Attorney Sanchez, I believe, made that statement that past that point, and what we've established with the Land Bank, the personalities involved with the confidential funds would be the SDO, the VP, and yourself. However, we take note po, Ms. Lopez, to the Honorable Chairman, most respectfully, na binigit po ninyo that you're only concerned with operations. And by operations, you're talking, I guess, about the social amelioration program ng Office of the Vice President. Is that correct, Ms. Lopez?
That is correct, Your Honor. That is my role as Undersecretary and Chief of Staff of the Office of the Vice President.
Ms. Lopez, I hope you, Attorney Lopez, I hope you understand how we would be, how we would find that quite confusing, because generally the idea of a chief of staff would be second to the head of the agency, and by virtue of that, everyone else in that department would be under the chief of staff. Generally, that's how it works. Our understanding is that in the OVP, how many USEC positions are there? May we ask?
There's only one Undersecretary position, Your Honor.
And the Undersecretary position is that of the Chief of Staff, correct?
That is correct.
So generally, including the SDO, although they have specific responsibilities under the circular regarding to the confidential funds, they are still under your supervision as the USEC.
The SDOs, Your Honor, do not report to me.
They don't report to you, although you are the most senior official after the Vice President in the...
Your Honor, if I may be allowed to, Sir Congressman Gutierrez, if I may be allowed to explain my answer. in the Office of the Vice President, although I am the Undersecretary and the Chief of Staff, I am purely handling, as I mentioned, operational concerns. There are areas, for example, that I am not privy to. One of which is the matter of confidential expenses. But as regards the institutionalization of the projects, implementation of the projects, communications that come through the office, internal, issuances of memo, issuances of special orders, etc., they go through me. And also, for external communications, Your Honor, for example, there is a request for referral to the, for example, the DSWD or the Department of Health. All these matters, Your Honor, are coursed to the Office of the Chief of Staff. And all communications emanate also from the Office of the Chief of Staff, external, especially to those national government agencies. On top of that, Your Honor, I handle the day-to-day operations of, there is a clustering in the Office of the Vice President. For example, as I'm, in the case of Director Lin, she handles the finance cluster, which is budget, accounting, GSD, no, is under you, the procurement. That is her AOR. On my end, Your Honor, I handle the frontline delivery of administrative support, such as Disaster Operations Center, Legal Affairs Division, and also the protocol team. Those are matters that I have direct hand into and information I am privy to. So yun lang po yung aking areas of concern. And there are areas actually in the Office of the Vice President, katulad, for example, let me just cite, if you allow me, sir, the matter of the appointments or the scheduling of the courtesy calls, etc., on the Vice President. Although it may be true that high-ranking officials call me and say na, Yusek, attorney, confirm mo naman yung aming appointment with the Vice President. This is something that I have no say, direct say to, because this is all done by the appointments team. In the same manner, the protocol team of the Vice President, although all the members of the Diplomatic Corps call me as the head of the agency, as the highest official, and as the Chief of Staff, it does not guarantee them that there will be a scheduled courtesy call, because these are matters that are determined purely on that end. So it's I think it's a compartmentalized kind of setup, Your Honor, that there are only certain functions and tasks that I am privy to, in which case that is the one that I have mentioned earlier. But although I would wish to answer really respectfully as regards the matter of the confidential expenses, it is something that I have not really been privy to from the very beginning. So, in the case of the earlier questions by Congressman Acop, rather, it is something that I cannot really answer because I am not privy to the disbursement, utilization, nor liquidation of the confidential funds. So, ganun po siya, Your Honor. That is how it is run in the Office of the Vice President.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification, Attorney Lopez. Well, I only mentioned that because it was the words of Attorney Sanchez that mentioned that you would probably be privy to the disbursement. And I think it would be understandable. It would be an understandable statement on the part of Attorney Sanchez because the general understanding of a Chief of Staff and being the sole USEC of that agency, there would be an understanding that there would be certain that you would have overall supervision. Well, in relation to the SDOs and in line with the circular, we also understand that they have specific responsibilities only to them. But we can't help but be puzzled po, no? And I understand you're telling us now that it's compartmentalized, but still we would think that generally the head of the agency would course things through you, although necessarily separate yung sa issue ng disbursement of the SDO, wouldn't other matters regarding the SDO, for example, administrative or human resources or logistics-wise, are they not coursed through you in relation to SDO? Because if I'm understanding it correctly, the job of the SDO would also entitle a lot of travel. As you've pointed out earlier, I mean, we've seen that maraming travel orders po ang ating SDO to the point na wala rin po siya today on the, because of official travel po, no? So, in relation to that, there's a lot of intermingling pa rin. Although you might say compartmentalized, there are a lot of things that would go through you. I would understand the travel orders are signed by the Assistant Chief of Staff right now only because you were gone for the longest time. But generally, you would be signing off on the travel orders of the SDO. Would that be a fair statement?
Your Honor, I do not sign off on the travel orders of certain officials, or in this case, the SDO. May I just confirm kung sino lang yung pwede kong pirmahan na travel authority? Just the ODU heads ba? Oh. In my case, Your Honor, in the case of the Office of the Vice President, I can only sign off on the travels of Directors Lynn Sanchez and Director Baloro, who is the Director for Operations. All the other travel authorities, I do not sign off on them. It is HR. Okay.
So, Mr. Chair, Attorney Lopez, you're telling us now that even sa pag-sign ng travel orders, may clustering pa po kayo? You are only authorized to issue travel orders for these two officials, and then everyone else has different parang boss? Ganun po ba yung sistema sa OVP? I hope you'd understand the confusion because we were presented before an organization and it all seemed to be like a pyramid, downstream lahat. Although there are clusters, everything's under you. But now we're seeing that there are limits to your responsibility. Are we understanding this correctly?
Your Honor, in the Office of the Vice President, we have a certain delegation of authority. There's only certain papers or documents that get into the Office of the Chief of Staff. And there are also others that go directly to the Office of Director Sanchez, as well as the Office of Director for Operations.
Mr. Chairman, Attorney Lopez, could you please guide us through also? Ano po yung ibang clusters? I think you mentioned financial, appointment, protocol. Operations, of course, is what you're in charge of. What are the other clusters so that we have an idea? So, in line with that, Attorney Lopez, so what you're saying now is confirming what Attorney Poa told us earlier, that if you take a deeper look into the OVP, napaka-compartmentalized. He used the same term, actually. It's very compartmentalized sa OVP. So you are affirming that now po?
Yusek Poa said...
Na compartmentalized po yung OVP. Sometimes, what the left hand does, the right hand doesn't know. Parang what si Attorney Poa, while spokesperson, should be expected to know the ins and outs of the office. Because precisely as spokesperson, he will be relaying this information to the public. When we were asking him, he said compartmentalized po. He does not know about confidential funds. So you now, as the Chief of Staff, you are now confirming ng OVP po, despite the hierarchy that we see in the official organization chart, napaka-compartmentalized pala po yung OVP.
Yes, that is correct, Your Honor. I can only speak for my experience as the Chief of Staff. I cannot really speak for Attorney Poa because there are certain areas in the OVP that I have no information on, or I cannot really have a direct hand on how it all operates.
So, Mr. Chair, in the operation of the OVP, rather than the usual hierarchy where it's a pyramid, where you have the large base with information or data or operations, which passes information upwards to select supervisors, upwards again to director level, ASEC, USEC, and finally to the VP. You're telling us now that the OVP operates in a hub and spoke type of situation, wherein the OVP is central and then direct na lang po siya to the different. For example, OVP direct kay spokesperson, direct kay Chief of Staff, direct kay Attorney Sanchez, for operating different clusters. And each cluster doesn't know what the other is doing.
I can only answer, Your Honor, on my role as the Chief of Staff.
Yes, sorry, and I'll just add to that point. No? And I understand you can only speak as the Chief of Staff because what you're telling us now is that you have been compartmentalized only as the Chief of Staff. So now you're telling me what I'm trying to present now, and if you would agree with that, is that the VP is very hands-on but treats you separately. So there's like I said, the hub and spoke. The VP is in the center, and she deals directly with Attorney Poa for other matters which you might not know, then directly with you for Chief of Staff of Operations for matters that only you know, directly to Attorney Sanchez for matters that only the finance would know, and you don't coordinate with each other.
There are cases, Your Honor, that is, in my experience, that is the case. For example, in the case of the spokesperson, it is not something that I am also privy to, the instructions for the OVP spokesperson. It happens, Your Honor, that way.
Thank you. I think this will be more, the compartmentalization of the OVP will be more relevant as we go on. But I'll just go back and focus on the SDOs. Thank you very much, Attorney Lopez.
Okay, thank
So
you.
yun po, we had an idea, although Attorney Sanchez mentioned that 3 persons were involved with the SDO, it seems to be narrowed down po, no? It looks to be, like with the DepEd, it's 2 people. We have SDO Gina Acosta and the head of agency, which is the Vice President. So para sa kalaman po ng lahat, yung joint circular, it dictates there that the SDO is personally tasked with the disbursement and liquidation of confidential funds. And the head of agency is personally tasked to oversee. So what Attorney Lopez has told us now, by excusing herself or by separating herself from the operations of the confidential fund, it now affirms what is in the joint circular. It is down to these 2 people. And in other words, yung SDO po yung inaatasan ng batas natin na humawak at siguraduhin mapunta ang confidential funds sa naayon na confidential expenses. So this is all in line with the circular. So since we have questions ideally for the SDO, but given that Ms. Acosta is not here, I'd like to ask these questions to Attorney Camora. Apologies, Attorney Camora. All roads lead to the COA, so I'll have to ask you in relation to the circular. So we are affirming po, no?
You are recognized.
We affirm po that with the joint circular, it's usually the SDO. It's only the SDO who is tasked with the disbursement of the confidential funds.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
To put more meat into this, we'd like to present po yung certification, if the Secretariat would be so kind as to flash it. The certifications for the OVP and the DepEd. Sorry, this is in relation to the certification for the confidential funds. I think we have one sample dated January 10, 2022. And for the DepEd, we have one sample dated March 31, 2023. There. So, Attorney Camora, through the chair, most respectfully, ito po yung certification na sinasabi po natin. This is what is submitted together with the liquidation report. Is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
And this is precisely provided under the joint circular.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
This is the exact language po, no? Is this an annex to the joint circular, or is there a format that is provided?
Yes, Mr. Chair. It's Annex B of the joint circular.
So as Annex B, even if the correct signatories are there, for example, it's signed by the SDO and signed by the head of agency and properly notarized, if it has been altered in any way that any of the provisions under the certification are different, di nyo po tatanggapin. It has to be worded precisely as Annex B provides. Tama po ba?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
And it would require all of these signatures,
Yes,
such as
Mr.
the head of
Chair.
agency. So we take note po that means that there are very specific things that are required to be certified as to be submitted with the liquidation report. And some of the things that stand out, it says here po, and I quote, incurred by the undersigned. So ibig sabihin po rito, it is the SDO that personally handles and disburses the money.
Yes, Mr.
That is
Chair.
basically the crux of the certification. And it just comes with other caveats.
Yes,
Like,
Mr.
for example, first, what is spent is in connection with the agency's intelligence and or confidential operations and activities. Is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
And it also says that, 2, it cannot be used for payment of salaries, wages, overtime, additional compensation, allowance, or other fringe benefits of officials and employees.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
And 3rd, that the expenditures are necessary and utilized for legal purposes.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
So this means that the SDO should personally know the disbursements and the expenses incurred, and that he should have personal knowledge of all of this. That is basically what the certification is saying.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
And this, hand in hand with the liquidation reports, would affirm again the responsibility of the SDO to disperse the confidential fund in accordance with the provisions of the circular.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Since the SEO handles the fund personally, it necessarily follows that he gives the money. Is that right? And I believe you answered this with Congresswoman Garin.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
You mentioned actually that there could be possibly multiple SDOs.
They could designate many SDOs.
From all of our agencies po and departments and GOCCs that would have CIF or IF, how many po would have only one SDO?
Actually, Mr. Chair, most have only one SDO. It is the agencies that have multiple SDOs that are fewer.
Okay, so mostly have one SDO.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
And in that case, that SDO is the one in charge pa rin of paying, and it cannot be delegated further.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay. So, for example, if we have an informer, which is basically what the CIF is for now, if you have an informer who needs to be paid, it is the SDO who personally pays this to them.
That is the presumption.
That is the
based
presumption.
on the certification, Mr. Chair.
And based on the requirements of the circular, it cannot be delegated. So the presumption should be reality. No?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
And that is the understanding of the COA.
Yes,
that
Mr.
it is them who personally handles it. And it is them who personally receives the acknowledgement receipt.
Yes,
Exactly.
Mr. Chair.
So the SDO cannot give it to another employee, for example, out of the 125 million, a specific, for example, compartmentalized daw, clustering. So ikaw sa rewards of medicine, ito, 20 million. And then siya na po yung in charge sa, and then whatever ARs that delegated person would receive would pass it on to the SDO. That is not allowed under the circular.
Even if he or she does that, he or she is the one ultimately accountable for those funds based on his or her certification. So, it's under his responsibility pa rin po.
Yes. So basically, command responsibility siya pa rin. But if that
Yes,
were the case, that is not in line with the circular because it should be personally disbursed by
yes,
the SDO.
Mr.
Correct.
Chair.
So we can't be too sure that the SDO, if it were the case that it were delegated, the SDO would not be able to certify it in such a manner. Because
Yes,
supposedly
Mr. Chair.
it's saying there that he's the one who actually dispersed the money.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay. And this is the same for payments of rewards. This is not just for the handling of funds in general. Even for
Yes,
payments of
Mr.
rewards and information, it goes the same way.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
The SDO gives payment directly to the recipient, and the recipient is supposed to give the AR or any DEPs that are in relation to that. Ms. Camora, Attorney Camora, so these acknowledgement receipts were submitted by the OVP and the DepEd to COA. This is the proof, this is the documentary evidence of payment that is required by the circular. And now we have that understanding that you've confirmed now that the SDO personally handles the same. So they handle the funds and they handle personally the DEPs.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
So, if there's any doubt to the confidential funds, if there is any doubt at all to the DEPs, any doubts to the ARs, which have been hammered down in the last hearing and now in this hearing, this all points down to the SDO. This is their personal responsibility under the joint circular.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
So, for example, one of the things that we pointed out last time in relation to the dates, if there is any problem with the date of the AR, it should have passed to the SDO.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Because unlike, for example, in our usual po natin, Attorney Camora, let's say, in a usual transaction, pumunta ka sa mall, bumili ka ng pagkain, magbibigay ng resibo, you wouldn't pay a second thought on that OR because usually you don't have to liquidate it anywhere. It's just a piece of paper. But as an SDO in which you have a personal responsibility, nakataya pera mo pa rin kasi nakaband ka po to the treasury.
Yes, Mr.
So you would have to check and make sure that all of the ARs are accurate,
Yes, Mr. Chair.
including the date.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Since one of the responsibilities under the joint circular is to disburse the CF and IF in accordance with the provisions of the circular.
Yes. So in the circular, it requires an acknowledgement receipt, and an acknowledgement receipt would require the date. So the date having been filled in for the AR and received by the SDO has the responsibility to make sure that it is correct.
Yes, Mr. Chair, although the requirement is documentary evidence.
Documentary
of
evidence.
payment.
So I'm sorry, but yes, the AR as the DEP
Yes,
would be
Mr.
required to have gone under scrutiny of the SDO. So if we had 158 ARs which have a supposed typographical error, shouldn't the SDO have caught on since they personally gave the money and received the receipt? He would check the receipt, kung tama yung pangalan, may signature, tama yung purpose, and the date. So the 158 times na mali yung date, supposedly 158 times na dumaan po ito sa SDO.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. So with that, we'd like to ask the COA. I know we've asked this before already, but we're looking into the responsibility of the COA. You've already mentioned many times that the ICFA would only be concerned with the submission of the DEPs and that you wouldn't look no further because generally parang ministerial na lang to a point. But should it have raised some red flags po? Especially now in hindsight, yung 158 with typographical errors ng dates.
Because of our hearings here, we're kind of looking into this, that we should be a little stricter on our audit from now on. So
We understand po, no, you mentioned before that one of the limitations of your office is manpower. And I think
Yes,
one
Mr.
thing that the
Chair.
committee will be working on in aid of legislation is to strengthen po the COA, that you would have the proper manpower support to make sure that this does not happen again. I think
Yes.
that's one thing, personally, this representation would like to push forward for the consideration of the committee. But with that said, so I hope now the ICFA would take into special consideration not only the impossibility of typographical errors, the frequency of it occurring, the time span in which it happens. And of course, now, as mentioned by Congressman Adjong, we've seen earlier that there are problems even to the multiple names with different signatures. This should have raised a red flag. And of course, the bogus names that were raised by Congressman Acop, such as Mary Grace Piatos. So these are things that I hope that the ICFA would be more stringent with. But there's one more matter, aside from that, which we have brought up from the previous hearing, that I hope that you could consider. Upon studying po yung DEPs natin, and we already know that there's a question about the time span in which that it was dispersed. Alam natin, questionable yung 11 days, na 5 days pa nga po ay holiday, dispersed po ito lahat. But one more thing we have to consider, now that you have affirmed to us, now that we understand it better, na yung SDO is personally in charge of dispersing the funds, we collated po yung ating mga DEPs. And we've seen po, for example, this is, I think, the DepEd. So this would be by Mr. Fajardo. For the, I believe this is the first quarter of 2023, submitted on the 31st of March, there were disbursements every day po, no? Since the release of the cash. And that disbursements, they would not go less than 10 times a day po. If you could see po in the chart, this is what we've seen. You would notice that the ARs, it would say the address or location. This is one thing particularly with the DepEd. Aside from the name, the signature, and the date, meron pong locations. So on February 21, 2023, or the very next day after the SDO encashed the 37.5 million in checks, lumabas po sa acknowledgement receipts that SDO Fajardo made 7 disbursements already. This is the day after, in 7 different locations. And the locations are Malolos, Davao, San Francisco, Agusan del Sur, Makati City, Negros Oriental, Negros Occidental, and Davao City. So the very next day, after, I would assume, the check was issued, it was encashed in Land Bank under the Shaw branch. Tama po ba for DepEd? Or
DepEd branch.
The DepEd branch. So the DepEd branch, that is in what city po here in NCR?
Pasig, sir.
In Pasig po na encash, and immediately the next day, he traveled to these 7 places and have these 7 ARs. Did this not raise a red flag of the impossibility of this occurring?
Well, it does, sir. Although during our review, somehow we just accepted the acknowledgement receipt.
For reasons you've already stated earlier po, no,
Yes,
Attorney
po.
Camara. In addition to this, if you go to the day of the first quarter that had the most disbursements, which is March 15, 2023, SDO Fajardo supposedly made 26 disbursements in the following locations: Davao del Sur, Surigao del Sur, Oriental Mindoro, Laguna, Zamboanga del Sur, Cebu, Ifugao, Antique, Batanes, Pampanga, Legazpi, Lanao del Norte, Batangas, Tarlac, Metro Manila, Samar, Davao de Oro, Agusan del Norte, Davao del Sur, Davao de Oro, Laguna, Cavite, Surigao del Norte. Attorney Camora, let's give him a helicopter. I don't think he'll do that in one day. So it really raises a question. How did SDO Fajardo certify and say that he personally disbursed this? Buti na lang po yung DepEd ARs have location. So it really shows us kung saan po sila. Unlike the DepEd ARs, yung OVP po wala. Yung OVP would only have the name, the purpose, the name, the signature, and the date. That's it. And the amount. But here we could see in DepEd, it seems to be really impossibility. So you could see the theme, not really the theme po, no, but what we're driving at here. Earlier, according to Congresswoman Garin, and I understand her frustration, there is the physical impossibility of the delivery and encashment of the cash. The questions regarding that, surrounding where it was brought. And then now, even the physical impossibility of the disbursement. Yun naman po yung tanong dito. If truly SDO certifies that he or she is the only person and has personal knowledge of disbursement, has personal knowledge, has gone through the DEPs, how do we explain this? It looks like from north to south, tip to tip po nitong Pilipinas. By Batanes pa rin po. So these are just some of the questions that we have. And if we look at the chart earlier, it happens multiple times. For February 25, there were 21 disbursements across 18 different localities. February 27, 21 disbursements across 18 localities. March 3, and the list goes on. And if you notice the chart, every day po yun. Every day po may disbursement. So it really raises the question po, no?
Yes, Mr.
About
Chair.
the legal, the veracity of the certification. We're now seeing the consequences of our current format that we have, that a simple signature, which the COA just blindly, not to fault you, again, we understand the reasons that you have, that you lack manpower and all that. But napakahirap po to because we're talking about the most difficult to account for, confidential intelligence funds po, no? So, if I may continue, Attorney Camora, and again, I understand frustration. I wanted to ask this to the SDO personally. I think they would have been able to answer. But on the light side na lang po, to make the most of the information that we have, at least on the side of the COA, that you'd understand the frustration of this committee and that you'd understand po where we'd want to proceed with this. It goes the same with the OVP. If I may continue, Mr. Chair, the pattern of the OVP is that even if it does not have the locality or the address, the disbursements are really dubious and curious because it really makes use of these disbursements in a way that you would find hard to believe. Just the number of disbursements given in the number of days, it really raises some questions po, no? Like, for example, in December 23 of December, 23rd of December of 2022, this is close as in relation to what Congressman Acop mentioned. There were a lot of holidays in those 11 days. And in fact, Noche Buena would have been the number one thing that people would be preparing for. But on the eve of Christmas, or the day before, when you would be preparing for the eve of Christmas, on December 23, at least 103 individuals received a total amount of 15 million pesos. I mean, just 15 million pesos for 103 individuals. If truly the SDO is certifying that personally she, I think this is SDO Acosta, she disbursed this, it really raises the question kung the possibility po, no, of how they did this. So, and this would include a bunch of things. No? It's very much payment of reward, payment of information, medicine. The safe houses were also included there. Given the various clusterings, if you would call it that, parang it leads to the, I would not say impossibility, the improbability of the AR submitted. So I think we really need a strict scrutiny po, no, of the DEPs that are being submitted. I'd just like to point out that based on this study, the days where the OVP gave confidential funds, over 100 recipients, all happened in 2022. And this is the time that had the 11-day period. So you could see na, I don't know if it's intentional, pero minadali po talaga. There was really quick disbursement. And in line with that, just one last question, Attorney Camora, and which was brought up by Congressman Acop. He was driving the point with Attorney Sanchez that you could obligate the confidential funds. If you don't consume, for example, because this is cash advance system, you advanced 125 for December of 2022, and you've only consumed, for example, 100 million. Does that mean mawawala na po yung 25 million, or does it carry on to the next quarters? Sorry, let's not do 2022 kasi last month na yun. Let's say for yung GAA provided na CIF. If in the first quarter of 125 million, na consume lang po is or what's justified is 100 million, what is the effect for the second quarter? Can they disburse 150 million, or are they limited still to the quarterly limit of 125?
Mr. Chair, the cash advances for the whole year. So as long as the cash advances are within the year and the last cash advance was liquidated, they could cash advance again for the next like quarter or the next, yes, quarter, since most of them do it quarterly.
So for example, on the 31st of March, I've consumed 100 and I justify with the liquidation report of 100 million. I still need to justify the 25 left, even beyond March 31. That would be allowed for the first quarter?
Can you repeat po?
Sorry. So yung first quarter po, meron tayong cash advance of
Yes, Mr.
125
Chair.
million. Ang nakonsumo lang po ng opisina ay 100 million lamang. May 25 million po na balance. Does that mean I can still justify the 25 million after March 31?
No, Mr. Chair. If it has been cash advanced for that period and the amount that was unutilized should be returned by the SDO.
It should be returned to the SDO.
Yes,
Yung
Mr.
sinasabi
Chair.
po ni
Since yung
Congressman
liquidation
Akop,
po is yung buong amount po dapat.
but it could be obligated in that time. It doesn't have to be dispersed. You could obligate for the 25 million pa hindi naman return. I believe that was the point that Congressman Akop was making.
Pwede naman po
Pwede.
yata. As long as it is still within the year of the it's still within the year, so yung cash advance is still for the year.
Thank you, Attorney Comora. So yun lang po, just to manifest, it really drives the point that it seems to be, there are questions po with the timing and the accompanying DEPs, and I'm sure that we're still going to go back to this. There were other questions, but unfortunately, wala po yung ating SDO, so I'll have to hold on to that. Mr. Chair, with that, I'd yield to other interpellators. Maraming salamat po.
Just an interjection, Mr.
Yes,
Chair.
Congressman Franz Castro.
Yes, so excellent no yung pinakita nating pag-analyze nung utilization noong confidential funds in 2023 and even in 125 in 2022. The possibility, the improbability physically nung pagbabayad ng SDO nito doon sa mga binanggit natin na kung ito man ay reward or whatever or reward. So ano ngayon ang gagawin ng Mr. Chair? Gagawin ng COA doon na obvious na sa pag-analyze natin, even Attorney Camora, nagsasabi siya na parang imposible. Tama ba 'yon? In one date, in one day, in different places, magagawa ba ng SDO na pumunta para bayaran yung mga sinasabi natin na dapat na bayaran in a day? Sabi nyo kanina at sabi natin kanina, no, imposible. So that is yung sa pagre-review ninyo nung ipinasa ng mga acknowledgement receipt, etc. So Mr. Chair, ang tanong dito, kasi hindi lang tayo matatapos na ito na yung nangyari, parang nakakatawa na talaga eh. Ano yung SDO na yon, Mr. Chair? Lumipad mula sa isang lugar patungo sa isang lugar in eight places, lumipad. Kung siya lang talaga yung nagdi-disburse. So talagang parang pinapatawa tayo, no? Pinapatawa ang taong bayan ng Office of the Vice President na nagagawa ito. No? So ano ngayon ang gagawin ng COA? Are you still going to accept those acknowledgement receipt or those na mga disbursement na tingin natin ay panloloko lang, niloloko na tayo, 'di ba? Niloloko tayo, taong bayan. So anong gagawin po ng COA, Mr. Chair? Gusto kong malaman, are you going to i-review nyo ba ulit? Ibabalik nyo yan? Or kailangan nyo nang magdesisyon ngayon kung dapat yan na yung pondo na ito ay ibalik yan sa pondo ng taong bayan? So ano po yung pwedeng moving forward doon sa ipinisend po ni Representative Rog Gutierrez? Mr. Chair, anong gagawin ng COA doon?
Mr. Chair.
Attorney Camora.
Mr. Chair, actually we are thankful to the body for pointing this out to us, since for us naman po as auditors, we presume this as yung regular but since these things have been pointed out, I think we will be basing our reviews na based on what we have discussed here in this hearing. And as to the cases po ng sa OVP and DepEd, yung sa 2023 especially po, AOM pa lang po yung status nung nung audit actions namin, and under review pa rin po yung mga compliance nila. So we will take po in consideration lahat po ng napag-usapan natin and be more circumspect in our review. Although mahirap since yun nga po marami pong transactions, but moving onward siguro po yun, i-apply po namin lahat ng mga learnings namin dito sa hearings na to. Although mahirap po talaga.
Kahit na common sense, i-apply nyo dyan. No? Kahit na common sense, attorney, Camora, i-apply nyo dyan.
Yes
No?
po.
Talagang imposible na talagang ito maaring ibinulsa, di ba? O maaring kung saan na napunta. Kaya imposible yung nangyari na sa isang araw pumunta ka sa iba't ibang probinsya para mag-disburse.
Yes, Mr.
No? Imposible
Yes, Mr. Chair.
'yon. At gamitin naman natin yung yung kahit na konsensya or kahit na common sense para diyan po. At gusto natin na dahil ito ay under review, sinasabi niyo hanggang kailan po Mr. Chair yung review nito?
Hindi pa po namin masabi, Mr. Chair, since ang mga involved po ay kasama ko dito sa hearing madalas. So, we will try po as soon as kung
Okay, so Mr. Chair, no, I hope yung COA would be prudent enough, at saka talagang tignan nyo talaga kung paano ginagamit ng Office of the Vice President at saka ng DepEd before itong confidential funds. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chairman. Okay, with the indulgence of Congresswoman Luistro, the Chair would like to recognize Senior Deputy Speaker Don Gonzales.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to address my question lang na three item lang kay Attorney Sulaika Lopez. Ma'am, who is your Assistant COS? Who is your Assistant Chief of Staff po, ma'am?
The Assistant Chief of Staff is Mr. Lemuel Ortonio, Your Honor, Mr. Chair.
Sino po ang pumipirma sa travel order ni tawag dito, si Lopez, si Ordoña? Nasa abroad. Ano pangalan nun?
Ako po
Hindi,
yun.
yung pangalan nito? Sino nasa abroad? Hindi. Sino pumipirma sa mga travel order ng office?
In the OVP, Your Honor, there is a delegation of authority. There are certain officials that I signed for in their travel authority. There are also other officials that Mr. Ortonio signs for.
No, who signed the travel authority pala of Gina Acosta?
Mr. Lemuel, no? In the travel authority shown to me, Your Honor, it is Mr. Lemuel Ortonio.
Okay. Number 2 question, ma'am. Kung tama po, hindi po niyo pwedeng i-recall yung travel order ni Gina Acosta to attend the hearing as Chief of Staff, ma'am?
Anong date na kay Gina?
Ikaw ma'am, Chief of Staff, di ba?
Yes, that is correct. No, I was also asking Director Lin kung anong dates po siya yung covered ng travel authority. Okay. We will consider, Your Honor. We will consider.
No, you just answer my question, ma'am. If yes, you can recall the travel order of Miss Acosta, ma'am. You are the boss.
I was not the person, Your Honor, who issued the travel authority.
Precisely po.
Yes,
So
but we
meaning
will-
to say, if you cannot answer, they're not really using the travels. Umiiwas lang po sa pag-attend ditong hearing na to. Tama ho ba?
Your Honor, like I mentioned earlier, kakabalik ko lang ho. I will have to study and look into the matter.
Okay, I have 2 questions. Number 1, kung yes, you can recall the travel authority of Ma'am Gina Acosta. And number 2, kung hindi, iniiwasan lang po umattend dito sa ating hearing ng good government. Tama ho ba, Ms.
Your Honor, as to the earlier as to the earlier suggestion on your end to recall the travel authority, I will look into it, Your Honor, and consider. But as I mentioned earlier, kakabalik ko lang ho sa opisina, and the travel authority is not something that I saw and have gone through. Ngayon ko lang po nakita through the phone of Director Sanchez. But we will consider your Honor's recommendation.
Yes, please. Give me the date lang po kung kailan pinirmahan ng assistant COS nyo yung travel authority ni Gina Acosta.
Just a moment, please. Your Honor, the document indicates that it was signed November 14, 2024. Your Honor. Mr. Chair.
Saan po siya nagpunta, ma'am?
Si Ms. Gina Acosta po.
Opo.
Wait, just a moment. Can you please? Just a moment. All right, per travel order number 2024-1036, in the interest of public service, with Your Honor, I would like to read the entire travel order in toto. Gina F. Acosta is hereby authorized to travel on official business to continue the monitoring and facilitation of the preparations and rollout of OVP anniversary activities in various areas on November 18 to 22, 24. Then, while outside her official station, she's authorized to collect allowance for daily travel expenses, incur actual travel expenses in accordance with Executive Order number 77/2019, chargeable against OVP funds, subject to existing budgeting, accounting, and auditing rules and regulations, including but not limited to the internal financial controls and spending guidelines. The date is November 14, 2024, Your Honor.
Attorney, ano trabaho po ng SDO? Di ba SDO po si Gina Acosta? If meaning SDO, siya ang disbursement officer ng OVP. Bakit siya ang umihikot regarding for the anniversary of the OVP?
Okay.
Meaning to say November 4, 18 to 22.
Okay.
Outside the country uto?
No, Your Honor. It is within the country. It is within the country. As regards to the question, earlier question, what is the work of Ms. Gina Acosta?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, may I know what is? Just a moment. What is? Okay. Your Honor, Ms. Gina Acosta is a Vice Presidential Officer 6, Staff 6 of the OVP. And as such, apart from being an SDO, she is also responsible for, she has also other tasks and functions, Your Honor.
So she's concurrent. So is staff 6 and then she's an SDO also. Concurrent siya. Office of the Vice President.
I understand the SDO is a as a designation only, Your Honor. She is VPSO, that is her position title.
Okay, thank you. Pero, ma'am, pwedeng ma-recall mo yung travel order niya para mag-attend siya sa next hearing, si Ms. Gina Acosta.
Okay, we will consider, Your Honor, the recommendation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you also.
Thank you.
Just point of clarification lang.
Yes, DS.
Sorry,
Suarez.
with the indulgence of Congresswoman Luistro. Kailan po ba yung anniversary celebration?
The exact date for the OVP 89th anniversary, Your Honor, is November 15, last November 15. However, in celebration of that particular anniversary, we have actually, just a moment, month-long? Ilang weeks? Month-long series of activities, Your Honor, as confirmed by a Director for Operations.
So your anniversary is on the 15th.
November 15th, yes.
That was 5 days ago.
That is correct.
Correct, right?
Yes.
You knew about this hearing. When did we, Comsec, when was our last hearing? November 11. So that was 9 days ago. We're November 20 now. So in between that time, it's impossible. It is humanely impossible for the second highest office in the land not to know about the hearing on good government. So, and you've already celebrated. You said the celebration was on the 15th.
That is correct, Your
Yes,
Honor.
and from what I understand, I think on a memo that was released by the Office of the Vice President, the celebrations are supposed to be simple. That is correct, right?
That is true, Your Honor.
So how can you have a simple celebration that will last a month?
Your Honor,
So you're saying you're celebrating the anniversary of an office from November 15 to December 15?
Your Honor, when we say celebration, we simply mean the rollout of projects and activities across the country, Your Honor, in our various satellite offices. In most cases, the Vice President will be present also to celebrate with the satellite offices.
Okay, yeah. So I
It
understand.
is simple, actually. It's a simple
Yeah,
program,
I
Your Honor.
understand that, but you know what? It's not a legitimate reason for number one. It's a special disbursement officer. An SDO doesn't supervise over events. I would expect the chief of staff to supervise over events. I would expect maybe an executive assistant to supervise over events. But why a special disbursement officer whose primary focus is money, finance, supervising over preparations for events? Is Gina Acosta an event specialist?
Your Honor, the Ms. Acosta's task as SDO is a designation on her end. Her position title is really Vice Presidential Staff Officer 6.
Hindi. Edward Fajardo, where is he? Is he also supervising celebrations? Ano ba to? Naging event specialist na ba tayo? Sunshine Fajardo, missing also. Is he also supervising events? Ano ba sila? Sila mag-MC ng event? Silang in charge sa physical preparations? Hindi ba kayang gawin ng mga satellite offices nyo yun? Nandito yung mga satellite offices nyo. Who's in charge of the satellite offices? Yeah. You cannot handle an anniversary preparation? It's yes or no. Can you handle an anniversary preparation? Can you handle the rollout of programs?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
There you go, Attorney Lopez. They can. They do it. Do you do it in a regular basis? Do you do it in a regular basis?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
So why supervise?
Again, for the record, Your Honor, I only saw the travel authorities.
Anyway, yeah.
Right
So,
now.
can you just do me a favor, Attorney Lopez, with the indulgence of Congressman Gonzales? Tawagan mo nga. Sigurado naman akong sasagot sa iyo yan. Ikaw ang chief of staff eh.
I will just try to reach out, Your Honor.
I already asked her to do that a few minutes ago, Mr. Chair.
Huh?
I already asked her an hour ago to contact his vice.
Baka nasa ibang planeta eh. Anyway, so sorry for my statement.
Respectfully,
Congressman
respectfully, Your Honor, Mr. Chair, I can only really reach out if he does not want to get in touch or revert. I cannot force Mr. Ortonio. But I already texted him. Your Honor.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, sabi mo yung anniversary ng OVP's November 15, at sabi mo dun sa authority, letter of authority to travel, is for the preparation of the OVP anniversary. So, ang date po ng authority niya is November 18 to 22. Meaning to say, tapos na po yung anniversary bago nyo binigyan ng letter authority to travel. So, kayo po nagsabi dito kanina, ang anniversary nyo is November 15. Pero ang reason is for the preparation of your OVP anniversary. Parang tapos na yung anniversary at binigyan nyo siya ng TA ng November 18 to 22.
Opo. Your Honor, for the record, the Office of the Vice President has 1 central office, 10 satellite offices, and 2 extension offices. There are a series also of activities happening in various locations, but it does not all happen in one day. To give time to the Vice President to participate in the activities of the satellite offices. That is why, Your Honor, it was scheduled month-long. That is the reason.
Okay, thank you.
Respectfully.
Mr. Chair, one question only.
Congressman Jill.
Pwede ba malaman namin sa OVP kung sino yung official na in charge doon sa pag-book ng plane tickets also with accommodation? Just to know the whereabouts of these officials, Mr. Chair.
I have no personal knowledge on this matter. Maybe the Director for Admin.
How about the other officials from the OVP?
Attorney Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, we have a travel arranger in the office under the procurement division. But she's only...
Ma'am, wala rin kayong alam. To cut the long story short.
No, Mr. Chair.
Wawa naman yung opisina nyo. Lahat hindi alam kung nasaan yung mga tao ninyo. Nagkaroon na yata kayo ng amnesia lahat. Ano po ba nangyari sa opisina ninyo? Lahat walang alam. From the chief of staff down to the department head. Lahat hindi alam.
Mr. Chair, for
Or meron po kayong pinagtatakpan.
Mr. Chair, for flight bookings, Mr. Chair, there is a person assigned to flight bookings, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, I think that is procurement under her office, Mr. Chair. Attorney Sanchez, can you not call that person now? I'll give you 5 minutes po.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chairman.
The chair would like to recognize Congressman Ino D.
May we also ask what exactly is the event that's currently happening today? Meron ba po tayong, I don't know if I missed it earlier, ma'am, that they have to attend to? Ano po ba yung event or program na ginagawa ngayong araw na ito na ina-attendan ng mga staff po ninyo?
Okay. Your Honor, for this question, may I refer you to our Director for Operations?
Okay.
No? Director Baloro, please, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, you're
Baloro.
Mr. Norman Baloro.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The programs for the month of November.
No, for today.
Yes,
For
this
today.
is for the OVP Thanksgiving ceremony, Your Honor.
Where, may idea po kayo details of the event or the program?
For the event, Your Honor, it's somewhere in Caraga, Your Honor.
Somewhere in
Caraga.
Caraga? Wala po kayong exact venue or details of...
No, Your Honor, because we have also our satellite lead who is also assigned in Caraga, Your Honor.
Can we ask the head of the satellite offices? So, can you coordinate with them? Ano po ba yung exact program natin ngayong araw?
Si Miss Regina
Of course,
Tecton.
we just have to ask.
Sino po yung head
Kasi
ng
nga po, we're all
satellite?
confused. Saan po yung mga taong ito? Ano po yung mga programa? Ngayon,
Maayong hapon kaninyong tanan. Mr. Chair, for today, the activity is in Caraga, I think in Hingoog, but the exact details will be under the satellite lead in Caraga.
do we have any coordination po with the satellite team in Caraga office, ma'am?
I will refer you to the Director of Operations because we are all under
Chair.
the
Mr. Chair,
operations.
If this has Mr. Chairman, we cannot have a referral office. Lahat na lang ng tanong i-refer dito, i-refer dyan, i-refer dito. Wala ba kayong...
Pero ako po nasusurprise kasi yung director ng operation nandirito. Yung Special Project Division nandirito. Pero yung SDO, yun ang umiikot.
Mr. Chair.
Hindi ba dapat yung operation ang umiikot, hindi yung SDO.
So, Chair, may I
Yes,
interject?
Congressman,
Just a very, very
Gia.
brief lang po. I think there seems to be a disconnect. Parang it's not only me, hindi nagko-coordinate but disconnect. I think kayo po yung head ng operations, Mr. Baloro, di ba?
Mr. Chair.
I think, Mr. Chair, you should know because you're the central office eh. Diba? Mga satellite offices, are you telling us that the satellite office work independently from yours or that they don't at least send to you? I presume that's a very important occasion or activity. So, I mean, a simple question asked by Congressman Ino D. You cannot even tell us the exact location. What program is this? I mean, you're supposed to know everything because these are satellite offices. You're telling us that you don't care at all to even know the details. Kayo po yung sa central office eh. These are satellite offices. I mean, there seems to be a disconnect kasi nagtuturuan po kayo eh.
Isa lang po ang maliwanag dito eh. From Chief of Staff down to the Director, puro walang alam. Di parang may nagtatakipan po dito.
Mr. Chair, dagdag ko lang. So, kanina, Mr. Baloro, hindi mo alam kung saan eksakto sa Caraga ginaganap yung anniversary ninyo?
Mr. Chair, with regard to the places, because we have several locations for Caraga, so we have also our satellite leads who is now in charge with the identification of the location for the OVP anniversary in Caraga.
Okay, several, marami. Ano yung mga lugar na yun?
With regard to you, that with honor, may I also have a time for me to call with our satellite lead?
Alam mo, nagloloko na tayo dito eh. Sa totoo lang, kung meron man nagtataka kung bakit nabawasan yung budget ng OVP, ito naging dahilan eh.
Your
Kasi
Honor.
hindi nyo may paliwanag. Simpleng activity ninyo. You can't even say for a certain fact kung nasaan. Sasabihin nyo maraming activities somewhere in Caraga, tapos hindi nyo man lang masabi kung saan. Anong klaseng celebration yun? Sobrang laki ba ng opisina ninyo na kaya nyong sabay-sabayin lahat ng barangay, lahat ng bayan sa Caraga Region? Not unless, of course, you're making a mockery of this committee. Mr. Baloro.
Your Honor.
Hold on. Are you making mockery of this committee, Mr. Baloro?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, so if no, then treat us with respect. Where are you celebrating the activities of your celebration today? You are head.
Caraga, Your Honor.
Where there? Do you know how big the Caraga region is?
For my personal knowledge, Your Honor, no.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair. Your Honor.
Yes, Attorney Lopez.
Your Honor, Mr. Chair, respectfully, may I be given a minute, please, to just discuss and confer with Director Baloro, if that's all right.
Pwede niyo po bang tawagan ngayon si Miss Gina Acosta, speaker po ninyo?
Si
Ngayon po.
Miss Gina Acosta.
Miss Gina Acosta. Paki-speaker po nga po ninyo.
Mr. Chair, may I just add that
Yes,
for
Congresswoman
an
Luistro.
event as big as the anniversary of the office of the Vice President, I do not understand why the operations head is not knowledgeable about the place of the celebration and the matters connected thereto. And more so, Mr. Chair, it is a common practice that when one applies for a travel authority, it goes with the travel authority, the invitation or the program of the activity. Kayo po'y operations head. Wala man lang hubang program or invitation where we can make reference as to the place of the celebration and the officials who are supposed to be there other than the SDO.
Your Honor, for the 2024 Thanksgiving activities, Your Honor, I just learned that
Is it Thanksgiving or anniversary?
Thanksgiving anniversary. It's in line with the OVP anniversary, Your Honor. The title of our program, Your Honor, is Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving anniversary celebration of OVP. And
Thanksgiving activity,
and
Your
it
Honor.
ranges for 1 whole week.
Yes, Your Honor.
Can you
up-
please cite again the inclusive period for that celebration?
Yes, Your Honor, from after our event on November 15, that is the 89th anniversary of the OVP. Right after that, we have our scheduled for the OVP Thanksgiving activities for all the 10 satellite offices, Your Honor.
Sandali po, ang pinag-uusapan muna po natin is celebration today.
Today, Your Honor, is the OVP Thanksgiving in Caraga, Your Honor.
And where in Caraga is it being celebrated?
It is simultaneously celebrated in, I've learned now, Your Honor, in our 3 municipalities. It's one city, Your Honor, it's in Hingoog, Magallanes, and Butuan City, Your Honor.
And why did you not seek for an excuse when you are the operation head and you're supposed to be the first person who's to attend that celebration?
Your Honor, because I went to Panay and Negros Islands already, Your Honor, last week. This is in it's municipality of Malay and municipality of Macataw in Aklan. So the reason why, Your Honor, for me to have a rest, Your Honor, my time also in the central office to sign few documents with regard to the medical and burial assistance. So the reason why, Your Honor, I need also to...
And how about the program and the invitation which are supposed to justify the travel authority of your SDO?
Your Honor, with regard to the SDO, Your Honor, is I am the one who signing. I'm not the one who signed the document, Your Honor.
Yes, I understand, but as an operation head, you're supposed to receive as well. Di ba? A copy of the program and the invitation because you're the focal person in terms of field operation. Am I correct?
Yes, but Your Honor, with regard to
Hindi ka ba nila inimbita?
For Caraga, Your Honor.
As operation head, you're supposed to be invited. Tama po ba ako?
As part of my job, Your Honor.
I wish to see the copy of the invitation and the program. Would you like to produce them today?
Your Honor, with regard to my, Your Honor, with regard to my travel order, I'll provide the committee, Your Honor.
Which travel order are you referring to, Mr.?
For the schedules of the Thanksgiving activities, Your Honor.
What we are discussing today are the activities where the SDO is supposed to be present as provided in her travel authority. I do not understand why in her travel authority, the documents which are supposed to accompany them, the program and the invitation, were not mentioned by Attorney Zulaika and Attorney Sanchez.
Your Honor, I don't have the knowledge, Your Honor, with regard to the travel order of our SDO, Your Honor, because I am not the signing authority, Your
But
Honor.
do you have a knowledge in as far as the existence of this program and invitations are concerned?
With regard to the OVP Thanksgiving for Caraga, Your Honor, yes.
You have?
With regard to, Your Honor, with
Do you
regard
have
to
copies?
Thanksgiving.
Do you have copies?
With regard to the executive refer, Your Honor, I have.
Can you please share it to the committee? The invitation and the program for the Thanksgiving anniversary celebration in Caraga,
Yes,
where your SDO is supposed to be present.
With regard to the presence of our SDO, Your Honor, I cannot give you
Because
with
that is the justification provided in the travel authority. So I suppose that he's there attending the activity.
Your Honor, I can only provide you, Your Honor, the executive brief of the program of the Thanksgiving in Caraga, Your Honor.
Mr. Chair, can we please direct our secretariat to solicit the copy of the program of activity as well as the invitation, Mr. Chair?
The Secretariat is requested to please get hold of the copy to Mr. Norman Baloro. Kasi yung Secretariat.
Mr. Chair, quickly lang po, if I may, I'll be allowed to interject with
Yes, Congressman Sia.
with indulgence. I guess earlier, Mr. Chair, Congressman Flores requested our Sergeant at Arms to communicate, the issuance or the contempt order that we have just issued against certain individuals, and I guess SDO was part of among those individuals who recited in contempt. Did I hear it right, Mr. Toledo, Mr. Baloro, that you are currently today celebrating a Thanksgiving anniversary of the OVP, and probably these three areas andun si SDO?
Caraga, Your Honor.
Yes, in Caraga. Kasi yun po yung reason niya kung bakit hindi siya pumunta dito. And maybe if we can go back to the earlier motion of Congressman Flores, we can already communicate kung nandun siya, maybe as a Sergeant at Arms, so that they can issue already. And they can probably confirm whether si SDO ay nandun talaga sa Caragas para ma-secure natin siya. Mr. Chair.
The Secretariat is COMSEC.
Mr. Baloro,
May we request the Sergeant at Arms? Where's the Sergeant at Arms? Pakitawag po.
So Baloro,
Yes,
paki-mention lang po yung areas you just learned just now, texted to you.
Your Honor, for the Caraga Satellite Office, Your Honor, for the Thanksgiving activities, we have simultaneously have the program for Hingoog, Magallanes, and Butuan City, Your Honor.
Oh, there you are, Mr. Chair. Hingoog,
Magallanes,
Magallanes,
and Butuan City, Your Honor.
and Butuan City. Okay.
Mr. Chair, can I just add?
Please continue.
Mr. Baloro, what is the activity tomorrow? Where?
For the activities tomorrow, Your Honor, this is still for confirmation because, however, to answer your question, is in Southern Mindanao Satellite Office, Your Honor.
What towns po?
This is somewhere in Marilog, Your Honor.
Marilog, that's Davao City.
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh, no other place?
With regard to the Thanksgiving for the
I
Southern...
mean, the programs that where supposedly Fajarda spouses and Acosta are to be supervising tomorrow.
For the program here, Your Honor, it is in Southern Mindanao Satellite Office in Marilog, Your Honor.
In Marilog. Okay. So if they will not be in Marilog tomorrow, meaning they will be absent from their function, supposedly. They were sent there supposedly to help out in this particular activity, correct?
Your Honor, to be honest, I don't have really the knowledge with regard to the travel order of the SDO, Your Honor.
You just heard Attorney Lopez read it out to you. To all of us.
Your Honor, I only have the knowledge with regard to the activities
Okay.
under the operations.
Now, as the head of operations, supposedly, alam mo kung sino yung pupunta doon from your office to help out, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And then you heard Attorney Lopez say that these persons were issued travel authority by Attorney Ortonio to help out in these activities. Correct?
I presume, Your Honor, their
You
presence
presume.
will be there.
So I also presume that they should be there tomorrow. Otherwise, they will be absent and they will not be doing the performance or they will not be performing their duties of which they were tasked to do. And of which they're saying that they're absent now because they're doing these functions. Correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
So they should be there tomorrow.
I presume, Your Honor, their presence will be there tomorrow, Your
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. The Chair would like to recognize the next interpolator, the Honorable Jinky Luistro.
As a follow-through, Attorney Sulaika, ilan po ba ang key officials ng OVP? I'm referring to key officials only.
There are 5 key officials, Your Honor.
Can you please mention these 5 key officials?
The undersecretary,
Can you
uh,
please include the name?
Oh, yes.
Assuming this position.
Yes, for number 1, the undersecretary, that is me, Zuleika Lopez. Our assistant secretary, Mr. Lemuel Ortonio. Our director for admin and finance services, that is Director Rosalyn Sanchez. Our director for operations, that is Mr. Norman Baloro. And our director for strategic management office, that is Attorney Sunshine Fajarda, Your Honor.
How important is this Thanksgiving anniversary celebration in Caraga? It's not even at the NCR. It does not even represent a regional representation because he made mention only of 3 specific LGUs. Why? Of all key officials. Bakit naman po sa dami ng opisyal ng OVP, ito pang matagal na pong iniimbita ng Good Government Committee na si SDO Gina Acosta at si Assistant Chief of Staff Ortonio ang nakaisip na mag-represent ng OVP sa Thanksgiving celebration?
Your Honor, I cannot answer that because, for one thing, I was not the one who issued the travel authority. For another, I cannot presume to understand or know of the wisdom of the person who actually signed it. So, therefore, I cannot really directly answer that question.
To continue,
respectfully.
Attorney, it is not my intention to undermine the significance of those activities in Caraga. But we are thinking individuals here between defending the institution, the office of the OVP, and attending the Thanksgiving celebration in the 3 LGUs in LGU. Hypothetical lang po. Which do you think is more important?
Your Honor, every activity we roll out, whether it's in the NCR or in our satellite
Mr. Chair,
offices.
can we please direct our resource speaker to answer the question? This is a hypothetical question, Attorney Lopez.
Please
If you
answer
will be made
responsibly.
to choose, saan ho ba kayo pupunta? Sa hearing ng Good Government Committee, where you will be given the chance to defend the office pertaining to the issues surrounding it, particularly the utilization of confidential fund, or the Thanksgiving celebration in the 3 small LGUs of the Caraga region?
Your Honor, Mr. Chair, the decision to attend the committee hearing of this honorable committee is a personal one.
I understand, Mr. Chair, but this is a hypothetical question that is being raised to our resource speaker.
I can only answer for myself, Your Honor, and my decision was to attend today's hearing.
Thank you, Attorney Salaika. Now to proceed, Attorney. Tagasan po ba kayo? Where did you originate?
I was born in Davao City, ma'am.
Can you please enlighten us where in Davao at kailan po ba kayo pinanganak? At least the year.
Your 1974, Your Honor.
You were born 1974 in Davao City, and I
That's
understand you were appointed as city administrator for a long time of Davao City. May I ask, Attorney, kailan po ba yung first encounter ninyo with our Vice President?
My first encounter with the Vice President was really because of work, Your Honor.
In other words, hindi po kayo childhood friends, hindi po kayo classmates, you are not even friends prior to your appointment as city administrator. Tama po ba ako?
Your Honor, the Vice President was a I was an upper class of the Vice President in the College of Law of San Beda, Your Honor.
In other words, you were schoolmates during the law school years. Tama po?
We were schoolmates, but we were not, how do you call that, friends?
Acquainted?
Or acquainted.
So when did you become acquainted with each other?
When I took on the position of Secretary to the Sanggunian, Your Honor.
When was this, Attorney Lopez?
I think 2007, Your Honor.
So this is prior to your appointment as city administrator.
That is correct, Your Honor.
You were first appointed as Sangguniang Bayan Secretary in 2007 before you were appointed as city administrator from 2010 until 2022. Is my data correct? Are my data correct?
There is a gap, Your Honor, because for a time, the Vice President was not the mayor.
Yes.
So just for, I think, 6 years. I was city admin for 6 years.
Let us go to your position as city administrator, Attorney Lopez. Ano po bang functions ng isang city administrator?
Your Honor, the city administrator, in my experience, we actually develop plans and programs on how to effectively and efficiently implement programs and projects that are initiated by the local chief executive. That's one. And then another would be the coordination with all the city department heads. In the case of Davao City being a highly urbanized city, I think we have around almost 40 city department heads, Your Honor. Not to mention, part of my task also is to chair and preside over various committees of the city, such as the Zoning Committee, Tourism Board, Davao City Investment and Promotion Committee, etc., totaling also more than 30 committees. Apart from that, of course, the city administrator is also tasked with the delivery of administrative support services, particularly in times of disaster operations, notable of which is, for example, there's massive flooding, or in the case of COVID in 2019.
That is an ample function, Attorney Lopez. And in fact, our time allotted for committee hearing might not be enough for you to be able to share with us the so many functions of a municipal or city administrator. Am I correct?
Yes, Your
But
Honor.
I have some specific questions for you. As city administrator, do you recommend to the LCE the appointment of key officials?
Your Honor, in my experience, I never proposed a recommendation for key officials.
But do you believe that as a city administrator, you have the discretion, the power, the opportunity, the position to recommend people who deserves appointment as key official? With the ample function that you have shared to this committee, I believe yes.
Your Honor, perhaps prepare a short list for consideration, but I cannot really make that recommendation because that exercise belongs to the appointing authority. It's the
Yes,
local
but
chief
if the
executive.
appointing authority will be soliciting your position relative to the people who are supposed to be appointed for key positions, would you give your opinion concerning this matter?
Your Honor, in my experience as the city administrator of the Vice President, when she was then mayor, she never asked me for any particular person or name that she should consider.
How about in the execution of contract in behalf of the LGU? Do you give your legal opinion, especially considering that you are a lawyer?
Your Honor, in the city government of Davao, there is only one lawyer, and that is the city legal officer. So all contracts that are executed or performed or entered into are reviewed and given legal opinion by the city legal officer, Your
If
Honor.
there are occasions when the opinion of the legal officer is not in consonance with yours, don't you volunteer your opinion being the city administrator and a lawyer at the same time?
Your Honor, I can only confer really with the city legal. But at the end of the day, it is the city legal who will make that final recommendation to the city mayor.
In
Or the local
scheduling the LCE in very important meetings, do you give your opinion as well as to which meeting she should be giving priorities?
Your Honor, from the very beginning, that was very clear to us that we do not really involve ourselves in the appointments or the scheduling of our principal.
How about
Then-
the budget preparation, Attorney Lopez? Don't you give your insights about which item, which program needs bigger budget compared to the others?
In the preparation of the budget for the city government, Your Honor, what is being done is that the city department heads, all 42 of them, I think, more or less, make a presentation as to their priority programs.
Is it not that you are the one at the core, at the center of all these department heads, being the one representing the office of the LCE?
No, Your Honor, I sit in only as city administrator.
As a
There is
matter of
also
fact, as city administrator, you do help reconcile the budget of all the departments of the LGU. Tama po ba?
Your Honor, it really depends on for one, the presentation of all the projects and programs of all the city department heads. And then we make that presentation to the local chief executive. And then the local chief executive will decide which programs will be prioritized. We do not have...
Do you mean to tell us that you do not recommend with respect to the programs which needs to be provided with budget?
Your Honor, my role really is that once there is an identification of a particular project, for example, may I be allowed, Your Honor, to give an example, just a short one, a brief one. For example, our collaboration with the National Museum of the Philippines for the establishment and construction of the National Museum of the Philippines in Davao City. All right. So this was an item that was proposed by some of the city department heads. So it is one of those projects that we presented to the local chief executive. And once she says that, yes, we will do this project and the timeline is set for this period, that is the time that I, as a city administrator, come in and start talking to key officials from the National Museum of the Philippines, draw the necessary legal documents that will document.
You wanted to tell us, Attorney Lopez, that the LCE approves first before you have the hand of being part of that program or
Yes.
activity. Is that what you wanted to tell us?
That is correct, Your Honor, because my role really as
In
city
all
admin-
matters concerning the office of the city of the mayor, you wanted to tell us nag-approve muna ang mayor bago ka umakto as city administrator?
That is correct, Your Honor, especially in projects such
Attorney, if I may interrupt, that is quite hard to believe. Because as city administrator, you're supposed to check all the programs, all the concerns, all the decisions, all the matters that will be presented to the LCE before her decision. Is that not the real situation of a city administrator?
Your Honor, I can only speak from my experience working with the local chief executive.
If you are not giving these recommendations to the LCE, then who gives the recommendation?
Your Honor, in that example that I gave, that was an output of the briefing with the several city department heads. That is one of the programs and projects that was listed. These are projects that we prepare and report to the local chief executive for consideration.
Kanina po may binanggit kayong you're heading all the committees. Tama po ba yun?
I preside, Your Honor.
You also made mention about the different departments. What do you do with the different departments?
Coordination, Your Honor.
You coordinate with the different departments and you draft programs and do the implementation as well as the coordination with the rest of the departments of the LGU. Tama po ba yun?
Yes, Your Honor. For example, in the case that I mentioned earlier, ma'am, in that partnership with the National Museum of the Philippines, it has to be approved first that we will embark on that project before we actually proceed any further.
Are you aware that city administrator is oftentimes referred to as Little Mayor? Have you heard of that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes. Why do you think the position of, or the person, the city administrator, the municipal administrator, the provincial administrator are being referred to as Little Mayor?
Little Mayor, precisely, ma'am, because you are the go-to person of all city government, city department heads, and then sometimes you traffic the deliverables and the projects that are expected per city department head. In other words, Your Honor, my role really, I am not a city engineer. I am not a city veterinarian. But what I do is, if there is an issue on ASF that the local chief executive wants addressed, I coordinate with the city veterinarian who is actually the expert on that program. That is my role, Your Honor. It's purely, how do you say this? Ensuring that they are able to come up with their projects that they have proposed themselves and it is delivered at a certain timeline as they have committed to the mayor.
You are correct, Attorney Lopez, that the department heads are the experts on their respective field. But I wish to believe that before the mayors, the LCEs, take an action on whatever they are being presented, she is being presented, it always solicits for the green signal of the city administrator because you are expected to check the genuineness, the propriety, the veracity of all the concerns, programs, and projects which are being presented by the various department heads. Do you agree with me?
Your Honor, I speak from my experience. That is how it was done when I was city administrator for the local chief executive.
Do you mean to tell us, Attorney Zulaika, that for the longest time, that is 2010 to 2013, and then 2016 to 2022, your opinion and recommendation was never solicited by your LCE?
Maybe on matters, Your Honor, such as, for example...
That is quite hard to believe, Attorney Zulaika, because otherwise, we will not be able to come up with this little mayor thing, which is being used to refer to the city administrator, if indeed walang kapangyarihan ang mga administrators. As a matter of fact, this representation used to be a municipal administrator.
Your Honor, Mr. Chair, respectfully, I can really just speak from my experience. That is the style that I was accustomed to under the local chief executive.
Kanina po may mga programs kayong nabanggit which you implement. Can you please cite some in brief?
Katulad po nung na-mention ko ng collaboration.
Just the title, Attorney.
The construction, Your Honor, and partnership with the National Museum of the Philippines for the establishment of one such branch in the city of Davao.
What else?
The high priority bus system, Your Honor, that we started during the term of Vice President Inday Sara, but it's still ongoing right now. The Davao-Samal Connector Bridge, which also we started with, but it is still ongoing, as well as the pending, among others, no, the pending waste to energy projects. One of those that was finished is the underground cabling.
Just give us a rundown. What these programs are, did you implement during those times? We are talking about 9 long years. You sitting as the city administrator.
Yes, Your Honor. These were projects that were proposed by the city department heads.
So can you please
Judy.
give us a rundown? Ano po ba yung mga programs na yun? 3 pa lang po yung binigay nyo. We're talking about 9 years here.
Another one would be, another would be the Davao Bypass Road, which is a partnership with the JICA group. That
Parang
was
yung
also-
binabanggit nyo, ma'am, ay mga construction project. Tama po ba?
Meron din pong other activities, Your Honor. Of course, the celebration of all the festivals that happen in a year, which is tatlo, which is the Charter Day celebration, the Kadayawan Festival, the Pasko Fiesta, that one.
Do you mean to say, Attorney Sulaika, that among these programs coming from the various departments, you are partnering with the department head in terms of implementation?
Your Honor, the person responsible for the implementation really is the city department head. For
Sunod ko pong itatanong sa inyo, if you are not recommending, you are not suggesting, and then you will be telling me it is the department head who implements, ano pong ginagawa nyo as city administrator?
Ma'am, I ensure that these projects happen
You
and
oversee.
are delivered on time.
And in overseeing, of course, you
schedule.
coordinate with the department heads. Tama po ba?
That is correct, Your
And you
Honor.
will agree with me also na lahat po ng programs na ito, we cannot implement them without the necessary budget. Tama po?
Yes, there is a budget for such.
And considering the length of time that you've been sitting as the city administrator of Davao City, you are well-versed pagdating po sa budget ng LGU. At least you are familiar with the budget of the LGU.
Familiar, yes. Not as familiar as, but as the finance cluster of the local
Because you said
government
you
would be-
coordinate. You coordinate with the different departments. Tapos sabi niyo po kanina, the budget preparation is being submitted by, the proposed budget are submitted by the different departments. So I suppose that in your coordination with the different departments, you are aware also of the budget of the LGU. Am I correct, Attorney?
For big ticket projects, Your Honor, yes, I am aware because they make the presentation, the city department heads.
What is that for?
For projects that similar to the ones I mentioned early on. Your
Yes,
Honor.
and I suppose that when the project has a very huge allocation, you will be aware as well. I want to be enlightened about the budget of Davao City during your time as city administrator 2010 to 2013, 2016 to 2022. Ito po'y na-flash na natin noon, and I want to share it again to the committee. Kindly flash the confidential budget of the Davao City. This is 2016 to 2022, Attorney Sulaika. And apparently, in our previous hearings, we were able to show that among all the LGUs in the entire country, ang Davao City po ang nagkaroon ng pinakamalaki na confidential fund. Being the person who coordinate all the programs with all the focal persons and department heads. Can you please enlighten us? 2016 to 2022. Paano po ba natin na-utilize itong confidential fund na ito?
Your Honor, Mr. Chair,
Please continue.
Yes. I appear here, Your Honor, pursuant to the subpoena that was issued me in line with the privileged speech of the Honorable Valeriano. It is in my capacity as the Undersecretary of the Office of the Vice President. I am not here, nor am I nor am I connected with the city administrator or city government of Davao. So I feel that I am not really competent to discuss budget concerns, primarily because, of course, with all due respect to the new city administrator and also the administration of the city government of Davao, Your Honor.
Mr. Chair, I wish to remind the resource speaker that the confidential fund which is being shown in the screen pertains to 2016 to 2022, the time when our resource speaker was the city administrator. Earlier, she explained a lot about coordination with the different departments concerning the program implementation. And I wish to believe that this confidential fund is part and parcel of some of the programs which they have implemented already in Davao City. So contrary to her manifestation, Mr. Chair, it is my humble opinion that she is in the best position to enlighten us. Saang programa po ba ginamit itong confidential fund na ito?
Your Honor, Mr. Chair, I mentioned earlier my role as city administrator. It is really to ensure the efficient and effective implementation of projects that are proposed by our city department heads and are approved by the local chief executive. I also mentioned, Your Honor, that part of my task is to coordinate with the city government departments, which are the various in various different areas: city budget, city engineer, city taxation, local city zoning, city planning. These are the operations part of running a local government, Your Honor, Mr. Chair. In my experience and in my term as the city administrator, I have no direct knowledge, no personal information as regards the confidential budget of the city government of Davao.
Mr. Chair, if
is
the
not-
resource speaker is making a representation that he has no knowledge whatsoever about the program utilization where this confidential fund were spent, then who has knowledge over the utilization to which program of this confidential funds?
Your Honor, I can only speak for myself.
Mr. Chair?
On my end, Your Honor, respectfully, much as I want to give a definitive answer, I have no personal information as to the utilization, disbursement of the confidential funds.
Mr. Chair, I just find it strange na si Attorney Sulaika po, alam niya yung tungkol sa museum, alam niya yung JICA project, and yet she has no knowledge whatsoever with respect to the huge amount of confidential fund that is from 2016 to 2022. If we can share it again in the screen, ang laking pondo po nito. As a matter of fact, if we will be following the joint circular during that time, this is 30% of the Peace and Order Program of the LGU of Davao. Hindi ko po maintindihan why we've been hearing that Davao City is the most livable place to live, the most peaceful place in the Philippines, and yet mayroon pong ganito kalaking halaga ng confidential fund. So, considering, Mr. Chair, the ample function, authority, discretion of an administrator, anyone who is assuming the position of an administrator, I do not understand why Attorney Sulaika could not enlighten us, at least of what she knows, to which program these confidential funds were utilized. if I may read, Mr. Chair, 2016, this is 144 million. 2017, this is 293 million. 2018 is 420 million. 2019, 2020, 2021, and 2022, 460 million. I wish to believe, Mr. Chair, that after the LCE, after the mayor, the next person who is aware about the program implementation, which includes the budget utilization, is the city administrator. As admitted by the resource speaker, she's the one coordinating all the programs. She's the one coordinating with all the departments. How come she has no knowledge at all with these huge amounts of confidential fund which were utilized in Davao City from 2016 to 2022? That is a manifestation, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair. Mr.
Congressman
Chair.
Conghon.
Just a small question, Mr. Chair, in line of the questioning of Attorney Luistro, Congressman Luistro. Madam Zuleika Lopez, do you have an authority to sign checks nung mayor si VP Sara, si Mayor Sara?
Wala po.
Hindi ka pumipirma ng cheque? Hindi ka nabigyan ng authority na pumirma ng cheque?
I do not anymore recall, but I think I signed. It's a delegated authority to the assistant city administrators, but in the event that they are on leave or on official travel, ako yung nagiging isang signatory. But it is not a usual task that I perform.
So you sign checks? You sign checks?
Some, Your Honor.
Vouchers? Of course.
Yun ba yung kadikat ng check? Yes, Your Honor. Only in instances
Including confidential funds? Of course.
No, Your Honor. As I mentioned earlier, respectfully, my role as city administrator is really, my task is confined to the operational.
Madam Sulweka, ano rin po ako, naging mayor po ako ng 7 taon. Usually po, isa sa mga responsibilidad ng chief of staff, sine-check po lahat ng voucher na pinipirmahan ng mayor. At usually po, ang administrator, pumipirma po ng mga vouchers, including confidential vouchers na confidential fund vouchers.
Your Honor, Mr. Chair, I am not the chief of staff. I was the city administrator.
Or the more reason why na ikaw ay pumipirma.
Yes, Your Honor. The local chief executive has another and a person in a chief of staff of the city mayor's office. I am not that person.
But
so for documents, I would assume that before it gets to the city mayor, there is a person who will review it for the city mayor's office.
But you signed vouchers of the local government unit of Davao?
Only in instances, Your Honor, that the person assigned or tasked with that function is on official business or not present.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Chair, I find
Yes,
it strange
Congresswoman
that
Luistro.
Attorney Lopez is claiming that she signs vouchers only on official business.
No.
But that's what you said.
No, Your Honor. Meron kasi pong taong na-delegate yung authority to sign for checks like payroll, etc. Merong pong taong yun.
When you say official business, Attorney Silaika, does that not include the utilization of confidential fund?
Again, Your Honor, I can only speak for my experience. I cannot speak for how it is in other local